Hi, everyone. Welcome to the month ahead. It's me, Wisdom Seeker Joan, and may I introduce Juno of the JunoSphere.
Hi,
We're,
everybody.
we're so happy to be here. We had technical problems last month, and so we skipped October, but we're back for November. Baby, we're back.
That's right.
And we've got all kinds of good info and questions to ask Spirit and the cards for the month of November. So let's start off with Juno telling us about her cards, the cards for November.
Okay. And I just want to interject one little thing at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
With everybody wanting to know how they can bring about the most benevolent outcome, and the most positive thing, we've got a big change coming up here on the 8th of November. And in Jin Shin Jitsu, if we cross our hands and hold the insides of our knees, just very simply, you can do it when you're sitting or lying down or, not standing up, but and you can go just a little bit higher, about a third way up on the inside of the legs. If you guys want to do that while you're watching our video, and anytime you think of it, this is a very powerful thing about bringing in the positive and bringing in good changes. So if we all focus our energies this way, it's a good thing.
So can you demonstrate? Because when I tried to do it, I got my hands all wrong.
Just hold
Just
your, real simple, just whatever
like that.
comfortable, either hand, whichever hand is more comfortable above or below your,
And then
above
on the
each
inside of
other.
your knees or a
Hold
little
the
bit
in, and
further up.
yeah, or like a third of the way up. And if you get into where you're a third of the way up, if you feel where there's a tender spot, that's where you want to focus on. And you can put either your palms
Ooh.
there or your fingertips, whatever works. But we can bring about big change, especially if we join our forces and our energies and do this um, when
Thank
we
you.
when we all get together and
Ah,
the same. So yeah,
great. Yeah, that's kind of relaxing, actually.
yeah, it's good for a lot of things. A prime mover moves things
Great.
along.
Wonderful.
Okay, so thank
So,
you for indulging me.
so tell us about these interesting cards.
Well, these are the different cards, and since we didn't do the October video, some of the cards like go from October into November. So I've got Octobers and Novembers here. Some go into December a little bit, but they all have to do with November. And so here, when we have the Four of Swords, that's, remember to rest and take time out. We're in a turbulent time, but this is about just being at peace and being restful. The Wheel of Fortune, things are going to change. We've got a big time of change coming up here. And the Eight of Wands, excuse me, is things coming in quickly. That's going to be news coming, and we're sure living that. News is happening second by second, it seems. Temperance card, here we are finding balance again. And this card, the dates of this go from November 22nd to December 20th. So this is like after all of the things settle down and all the stuff is counted and we know what's what, then we're going to be finding our balance in time for Christmas. The Knight of Wands, and you said something interesting about the salamanders on the Knight of Wands. What was that you said?
This it on on his robe is the image of the salamander biting his own tail. So it makes a circle, and it's about wholeness.
Right, right. And then he's bringing in information quickly, right? Because he's
Yep.
riding in with his wand. We have the Seven of Cups, so there's going to be a lot of choices. And here, this guy, this one's covered up. Looks almost like a ghost, and it's almost Halloween tomorrow. But things are unknown. We're going to have a lot of things and even once everything is decided, then it's like, okay, what do we do with all this? And what do all these choices mean? And here, when we've got the Six of Cups, this is kind of, looking back to a more innocent time. And what's interesting about this card is it goes from November 3rd to the 12th. And by the 12th, we should know the outcome of all the different, if everything is the way we'd like to visualize it.
I like that it's next to the what is it the card before it with the
Oh, here,
cups, which is
the Seven
about
of Cups.
choices and illusions and just being unsure and all not being sure which way to go, and now being a little bit more sure by November 12th. I love that.
Yeah, and saying I picked the cups with the flowers in them, out of all those. Pick the cups with the flowers to share. And then we have the judgment card here. This goes till November 22nd. So there's going to be a lot of judgment coming up with on a lot of different fronts, I feel. The death card, everybody don't panic. The death card means that that's the end of a cycle, beginning of a new, and things are going to be transforming, going through transition. A new dawn breaking, here's the sun coming up in the background here, and certain figures that are being put in their place, let's say. And then we have the King of Cups, and for me, the King of Cups is Joe Biden and the loving father energy coming in. And so I feel overall this is pretty positive, you know.
I think
We know
that,
we're the tempest in the teapot right now, but
yeah, I think this lays out really nicely. And when the death card comes up, it always kind of makes it swallow hard. I won't mind a transition from the way things have been to perhaps having the loving father more powerful going forward.
yeah.
Not to show
Yeah.
my cards or anything.
Well, yeah, I
Wonderful.
mean, I feel the same way. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, while now, if you have them available, can you tell us about the stones?
My buddies, I got
Your
some really
pals.
interesting stones here. I just love working with my stones. So, for the month of November, the stone is citrine, and this citrine is really interesting. It's almost got like an eye in it. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And citrine is about prosperity. It's good to, it's called a merchant stone. They would keep a little citrine in their cash drawer or, carry it in your pocket. And it's also called cuddle quartz. It has to do with love and harmony and all that. So, and citrine is really nice because it's one of the less expensive crystals we can get. So everybody can afford a small piece of citrine. And you don't need a big, bigger doesn't mean more powerful necessarily. So don't worry about that
Yeah.
part. Citrine, the word comes from the French word citron, citron, which means lemon.
Hmm.
So that would have to do with the color. And so in November, we have two different astrological signs. We have Scorpio, and one of the stones for Scorpio is malachite. And this formation is called a VUG, VUG, which is a really kind of unique formation. And it's kind of how the way geodes are formed. I don't know if you can see down in
Yeah.
there. It's kind of hard to tell, but it goes into a funny little shape there. And it comes from the Cornish word Vuga, Vooga, which meant cave. So it's kind of like a little cave. And malachite, let me just check here, going through my list. Oh, it helps protect from radioactivity and EMFs. So this is a good thing for those of us who are concerned about those kind of. And it's also, it's a very dense stone. It's one of the heavier stones, and the energy of it can be, well, you think of Scorpio energy, it's pretty heavy
Intense.
energy. Yeah, intense. Good, exactly. Good word. And so not everybody can wear malachite. So if you don't feel close to it that way, just having it around is all right. But you might want to stick some by your computer.
Hmm.
And Sagittarius, I'm a Sagittarius, so that's the other half of November. And one of the stones for Sagittarians is turquoise. And this is a really beautiful piece of Sleeping Beauty Mind turquoise, which has got very few inclusions in it. And the color is natural, this really bright
Wow.
blue. And it's known as a stone of sensitivity, which I really relate to with my health issues. But, if it's like you don't want to spray perfume on it or hairspray or anything, you want to be really careful with turquoise, how you treat it. It's a very sensitive stone. And they say, like, if someone had their own turquoise and then they passed away, you'll notice that the stone fades in color.
Oh,
Like it
wow.
really changes in relation to that. And I had one other thing I want. Oh, and it was so sacred to the Native Americans that only the medicine men and shaman were originally able to possess that, to
Wow.
work with it. So I just love turquoise. I think it's probably my favorite color. And so that's the stones.
Yeah, those are beautiful. Oh, I meant to mention that I'm not at my house because you can see I'm somewhere else. I am in Mexico, in San Carlos,
Lucky
Mexico.
you.
Yeah. And on the way down, I drove from Minnesota, Mexico. And it just so happened that my route took me very near to where Juno was. So I called her up and said, "Hey, I'm in your neck of the woods. Can I stop by tomorrow?" And nearly shocked you. But when I visited, it was so fun to see you in person. You gave me this wonderful piece of quartz. And I was just so happy to see you and kind of discombobulated that you took it. It's kind of a green color too.
It's
Can you
called
tell me a
Aqua
little?
Aura. It's Aqua
Aqua.
Aura quartz. And that is formed, that's where they take regular quartz and they put it in through a process where gold is in a gaseous form and it bonds with the
Wow.
quartz. It's not a dye, it's not a, it's not painted on and it's not going to fade or go away, but it adds the qualities of gold to the quartz. It's a very, very special, very high vibrating stone.
Wow.
So I'm going to be doing a series on my channel about crystals. So that'll be one of the stones that I talk about in my spare time. But
That sounds wonderful. Okay.
and I just wanted to tell everybody I didn't get to the tarot cards for October. I went down the rabbit hole of Halloween and the videos for Halloween, so I will catch those up in the November. The October ones I'll do in November as well, so you'll still get them.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes. And if you're not a member of Juno's channel, please join because sooner or later, everything you've ever wanted to know about anything metaphysical will be on Juno's channel.
Well, that's what happens when you never leave the house. And I have to just say, when Joan was here, I was enjoying so much talking with her, and I just kept looking at her going, I can't believe you're here. I can't believe you're really here. And you're just exactly as I imagined you to be. It felt like we'd known each other forever.
I know.
It
That's
was
the way it's
awesome.
felt over the airwaves here too. Okay, on to our next section, in the sky. So our new moon for November will be on the 4th. So you can put together your new moon wishes and be ready for that. And then the full moon is on my birthday, November 19th.
Oh, happy birthday. We're
Yeah.
both in the same month.
Yeah. And there's also in the sky Mars retrograde on October 30th, and it goes from October 30th to January 12th. So Mars controls action, aggression, and passion and desire. So when it's in retrograde, it can leave those areas kind of with a slowdown. So you can be prepared for that. But it's not so bad having aggression being kind of in retrograde. We can all deal with that.
One of the things I found when I researched that is it said something spectacular is about to happen with Mars in retrograde. So
That'll be great.
yeah, I'm ready
Yeah.
for something
Yes.
positively spectacular. I'm ready for that.
That sounds good. Yeah. And I think that this will become apparent as we go through our questions too, that I know as a Scorpio that intensity is definitely
Yes.
one for good or for ill. Intensity is kind of a Scorpio quality. So that's going to be happening. But tell us about the 1111 portal.
Oh, the Ascension portal. That's really cool. And 1111 is the most alignment that a clock can show you. And it gets to show you that twice a day. It's 1111 twice a day. It signifies the higher realms and spiritual awakening, coming into alignment with your higher self. And each set of 11s is like the portals, like the pillars on the on the High Priestess card.
Oh yeah.
It's also on the Moon card. So those are portals. So you've got double the portals with the 1111. But good day to really focus and meditate. And we talk a lot about ascension. Well, there's your ascension portal right there to focus your energies and make a point of even if all you have is 5 minutes to devote to those thoughts and that meditation.
Do you think you might do a video about that the way you did the Lionsgate portal?
That's what I'm planning. Yeah. I'm
Good.
It's in the
Told ya.
cooking phase. Yes. also working on one. I'm doing one about the misconceptions about witches that's going to go out for Halloween, and then I'm doing a Day of the Dead video to talk about some of the facts and superstitions and what about the Day of the Dead. So I'm trying to do things in relation to when they happen best I can.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's get on to the questions for November. And a couple of these, well, since I'm doing this, I get to choose the questions with Spirit's help, but this one is really self-serving. So November 1st is Gluten-Free Diet Awareness Day. And of course, I had to do this as a question because I'm celiac and we've got a bunch of other food allergies too. So the question is, what is causing the rise in food sensitivities? I had to self-diagnose myself with celiac in 1989. And I went to a bunch of different doctors and specialists, and they treated me for all kinds of different things, and nothing helped. So I just went to a medical library and got a gastroenterology textbook and a medical dictionary. There's my symptoms. This is what it means. And it was so great. It's like, all you have to do is quit eating gluten. When I went back and told my doctor about it, he said, "Oh, I never would have figured that out. That's so rare, so far down the list." Well, that was 1989. And I think they are a little bit more aware of it now. But okay, so let's ask the question. What is the cause of the rise in food sensitivities and allergies? Spirit. I'm getting that it's many things. In the olden days, people like myself would not have survived to grow to an old age. They didn't know what those things were. So people who had these sensitivities just died off and didn't breed other people that had it. And also, especially in more developed countries, especially in the United States, where profit is often put over people, the quality of the food has diminished. And people have been putting literally poisons into themselves for generations now. And now they're showing me the Wheel of Fortune card, that everything goes into a cycle. And we've, mixing metaphors, the pendulum has gone very far to one side, and enough people are experiencing this that there's a groundswell of movement on many fronts, from regenerative agriculture to moving away from what Juno and I grew up with, the whole concept of better living through chemistry and, prepared foods and space food sticks and Tang and all of that stuff, to understanding more the connection of what we eat and what happens to our bodies. And as more people understand this, that it will at least be managed better. Okay, thank you, Spirit. What do you get on this?
Well, it's interesting. I kind of see this as what I feel. I'm not sure if this shows on the card, but I kind of feel like in the past, like you were saying, no, you didn't know, they didn't know to diagnose it. It was so far down the list and didn't realize how prevalent it was. But this card in reverse, this is the Five of Pentacles. It's about a time of healing. And like you were saying, I think that it all, it's not just the sensitivity, to gluten, but it's the lifestyle and the pace. We're just trying to cram 25 hours into a 24-hour day. And this is about, instead of pushing yourself to the point of being ill, take time out to recover. The Ten of Wands, this is about needing to delegate and feeling the weight of the world when it's reversed. And when you've got a condition like that, we call them in Jin Shin Jitsu, they're projects. They're not an illness or a disease. It's just a project to be worked on. But when you're feeling the weight of the world, it comes out physically. And a lot of us have different sensitivities to different things,
Mm-hmm.
And then the star being upside down, it's feeling like faith is lost. When you're really sick like that with a chronic thing, it's like, why? Every day you get, why do I have to go through this? And that's kind of how we've been feeling. But with the Ace of Swords here, that's where we're going. That's like bringing in fresh air and new knowledge about it. There's more understanding about uh what's causing it and how we can deal with it and how we can create new recipes, for foods that we don't require gluten, but things still taste good and you're still enjoyable. So do you see anything in there, Joan?
I think I like the Ace of Swords and something new, victory after tears, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's so much more information, um, even about like the gut microbiome and just health foods of a different sort. Yeah. So I think we're on a positive track there.
Yeah. Oh, when I saw the Ace of Swords at the end, I was like, oh yeah, that's the new knowledge coming in
Yeah.
and cutting through all the nonsense and getting, and I think that these like the supply chain issues, all these different issues that we're facing right now, this is all coming together because we're going to start rethinking our food. And it won't be such an odd thing to say you've got this condition or that, we'll be
Yeah.
working with it more understandably.
Okay. Moving on. As we've been mentioning, November is a Mars influence month, and part of that includes aggression. And as I was going through like happenings from history in the month of November, I was really struck by how many of them involved pretty serious acts of aggression. So just to run down a couple of them. November 1st, 1952, the US detonates the first thermonuclear weapon, the hydrogen bomb. November 7th, 1917, the Bolsheviks um, uh, oust the Tsar and install Lenin. November 18th, 1922, Mussolini comes to power in Italy. And November 22nd, 63, JFK is assassinated. And that's just a smattering of the big upheavals in history in November. So the question is, what is the future of aggression as a tool to address problems in the world and in personal conflicts? So Spirit, tell us, what is the future of aggressive actions like this on a large and on a micro scale? Okay, aggression is a reaction to fear because all there is love and fear. It's like a dog. Have you ever had a dog who's a fear biter? They don't warn you because they don't have the self-confidence. All they know is if they feel frightened, they lash out. And both on an individual level and on a macro level worldwide, that's where this comes from. It's the people who are afraid and the people who turn to aggression and the people who know how to stoke fear in others because they want power. But as time goes on, more people will understand this. And when the balance between love and fear comes to the tipping point, then that's part of the ascension. That's when we won't see as much of this form of aggression in our individual lives, in small groups, and in international relations. Ooh, thank you, Spirit. What do you have? Oh, this is interesting. What do your
Isn't
cards
it
say?
interesting?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of these are wands cards, and even though this is the hangman, it still resembles the wands,
yeah,
Um, so yeah, there's what, two maybe cards and a yes and a no card. So it's what that tells me overall is it's up to us. You know, we make the choices and it's not outside of us. Um, here with the Five of Wands, that's a bunch of people. They're all different. You see, they're all wearing different outfits, and they're not actually hitting each other. They're just quarreling, so to speak, rather than fighting with swords, fighting to the death. So this is about bickering and change and instilling competition, and how you were talking about fear. It's like, to me, it's like all the people trying to ramp up the fear, because that's how they can control people, through fear. Seeing the Hangman in reverse, that can be about being unable to see the other person's point of view, but it can also be becoming unstuck. So I see this as a positive thing, and look at the light around his head, like seeing a new way, and realizing that we've been in this hanged man position for a number of years now, and wanting things to change. And I think that shows that becoming unstuck. The Two of Wands in reverse has to do with poor planning, no strategy, fear of the unknown. And I think right there, fear of the unknown is, none of us knows where we're going. We all thought we knew where we were going. If you had looked at 10 years ago, we kind of all felt like the country was headed in a certain direction. And now it's all on, and the whole world is going through it, not just our country. A lot of changes. And then when you get here to the Eight of Wands in reverse, that has to do with stagnation, delays, and resisting change. And I think that we have to be realistic and know that there is going to be resistance to the changes that are coming. But that doesn't mean the changes aren't coming, because look, you can see they're moving. They'll be here. It just might take a little longer than what we would like. But if we just became unstuck, it makes sense. You don't go from 0 to 90,
Right.
Without injuring yourself.
And the only way we're going to get there is for each of us who does understand that to cling to the light and lift our vibration. And I think, if anything, in being in this community, it's shown me that, don't give up, that there is a community of people, of like-minded people, and we do make a difference by sticking to the positive and sending out love instead of fear and all of that. So we'll just keep it up. We know it's coming, not as soon as we'd like.
And what's interesting is this card, and this card are all Archangel Michael cards. So I see a lot of protection, but I also see a lot of, cutting away with his sword and coming into let's get this done. Let's start moving things in a different direction.
Seeing the Hangman upside down, he kind of looks like one of those vaudeville dancers who would like cross his leg and go.
Yeah. I've been watching old Groucho Marx stuff. Like, they'll do stuff to new music, and there's some really good video compilations on there. And those guys are so talented, but they used to do a lot of interesting leg, like arm and leg positions, and it makes me think of that. Yeah.
Moving forward. All that kind of stuff. Okay, good. All right. Next up, November. Okay, this is the biggie. November 8th, U.S. National Election Day. Oh, so the question is, overall, will candidates up for election on November 8th in the U.S. align more with the light, or let's see, blah, blah, blah. Will candidates aligned more with the light prevail in the U.S. general election? And will they take office?
Oh, no pressure there, Joan.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Spirit. Okay, what came to me were the lyrics of The Sound of Silence. And this is why it's taking me so long. I'm trying to run through them. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Okay, I've got people have gotten used to the darkness. There's plenty of people still in the darkness. Okay, Spirit, what does this mean for this election? There are still, of course, there's still pockets of darkness. So what does this mean, Spirit? I see that we were talking about vaudeville, and I'm seeing like performers out on stage and a hand coming out and trying to get them at
Get
the
the
ankles.
hook.
And yeah. Oh yeah, I think I need to go to the pendulum for this one. Spirit, are candidates more aligned with the light going to prevail and be not only voted in, but take office? Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm stopping right there. I don't want to see any more of the darkness part. So I think that's kind of confirms what a lot of people have been saying, that it might be kind of rocky. They're not going to give up without a fight, but those aligned with the light are going to, in the end, prevail for
And
the
I
in the
really
main.
yeah, I believe that in my heart, and we have to believe that.
Mhm.
We're not going to help it manifest if we believe any differently, you know.
Yeah.
And I actually think these cards are pretty interesting. Here, the Nine of Swords reversed, that's about improved sleep and stress release and, you know, fearing secrets, you know, all that being released. So I see that as a positive for us, that we're going to start
Yes.
seeing better. We're not going to be so worried. Seeing the Justice card reversed, I see this in this case being, there's been a lot of hanky-panky going on with the Justice Department and these different lower level judges being put in by other parties and having it go against us. And I think I see this being, you know, turned upside down. I see a lot of that being rectified, getting, you know, more justice on our side, tilting this, you know, the pendulum back to our way is how I read that. The Three of Pentacles reversed, you know, here's these people, this is like those other people that get behind and do stuff behind the scenes that are nefarious, and I see this as them being exposed and their world's being turned upside down, which goes along with the Justice, you know, department being more in our favor, you know, not being corrupted like it has been.
Mm-hmm.
And here again, we have the Eight of Wands reversed. So, you know, it's not going to happen overnight. I know we all wish that we could wiggle our nose and all these things would turn out the way we want. I just think we have to be patient. And you know, don't look at this as a negative. If we want the change to be lasting, you know, sometimes you have to wait for all the little things to line up so that that can happen.
That's the second time in a row that we ended with that card.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, not going to happen as fast as we'd like, but it's going to happen.
But it's going to happen. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
coming. And you know, the other thing I noticed about this card is all these wands are parallel. They're not fighting with each other. They're all working in alignment with each other, going in one direction. And you know, that's all of us with our focus. And look at all the 11s, you know. And what did I ask us to do at the beginning? Hold your ones. There's another one, you know.
Yeah.
If you're holding a one on each side, that's an 11. So, you know, and here, and even the way these swords are, and the thing about these swords here is they're not real swords. You know, there's no shine on them. They're just figments of the imagination. So a lot of these are about turning around the mental part, you know, getting and with the swords and justice, getting the justice going back in our direction. That's what I see. But you know, being realistic, it's not going to happen as fast as we'd like, but it is going to happen.
Okay.
Do you
Overall,
see anything else there?
nope. Overall, I'm going to take it as positive.
And I like seeing these guys uprooted and, you know, they got to
Yeah.
go.
Yes.
Get
Yes.
out of that dark corner. We're sweeping out the dark corners.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Next up, November 11th is Veterans Day, also Armistice Day. And that's the armistice that ended World War I in 1918. After 4 years and 97 days of war, 9 million people died and 27 million were injured. Can you believe that? 9 million people. So the question is, will organizations like NATO, the UN, and world democracies and alliances put an end to aggressive actions like we've seen in Ukraine? This is kind of the same question about aggression that we had, except in a different way. And they're showing me a drop of water in the ocean. The answer is yes. But it starts on an individual level again. They're showing me like pieces of machinery that are trying to mesh, and they're trying different ways, but eventually they do come together to create a solid connection that will work toward this goal. But again, Spirit's making clear that we might not sit in the UN or NATO or be part of the EU or whatever, but it's going to be a reflection of what's in people's hearts. And Ukraine has made clear to a new generation the horrors of war, and especially young people are just not going to put up with it. So yeah, I think again, it wouldn't surprise me if you get the, oh, well, it didn't come up this time. Oh, I like the end card much better this
I
time.
know.
When I
Well, and
open
if
my
you're
eyes
going to
and
get
see
the
it.
10 of swords, you want it to be reversed, you know?
Yes, yes.
It's about recovery and healing and letting go of the inevitable. It's kind of like when you have to go, you got to go to the dentist to get a tooth pulled, you got to go through it. But once you get that tooth pulled, everything's better afterwards. It's just that moment of that. And so that's kind of how I see that card. The star being in reverse, I think that's, it's about despair and being depressed and feeling faith is lost. I think, that's kind of how a lot of people feel. And we're lucky we're not right in the middle of it. We feel it on a energetic level, but thank goodness, many of us who are watching are not directly involved, but we feel for our brothers and sisters who are. And that's how I see that card. And having the 10, or excuse me, the Hermit card, the 9 card in reverse. This is when the Hermit likes being with others, when he's reversed. So this shows me, okay, we're when the Hermit is upright, he's a solitary figure. He's in seclusion. He's not wanting to interact with others so much. But now with him being in reverse, that's opening up and wanting to work with other countries, with other people, welcoming other people in. And what better card to have? And what do you have to say after you see the Sun card? I mean, it's just happiness and the sunflowers and the rays of the sun and enlightenment.
I love that it has sunflowers like Ukraine symbol.
Exactly. And it's about birth and new projects and ideas. So this is actually making me feel a lot more optimistic than when you gave me the questions ahead of time. I'm like, I don't know if I want to read on something, but I'm feeling
it's November. It's Scorpio season.
Hang on. Yes, I gotta watch out. And you know where I live. You come by and sting me, but you wouldn't do that.
No.
No, I actually kind of see these as being pretty positive. They're being realistic, but positive in the outcome.
I really like seeing the Hermit upside down, because this is about like alliances coming together. It's like, yeah, they're going it alone. The John Wayne, riding in on your horse and taking control. That's not going to work anymore. Like-minded people, and both on an individual and a global level, need to come together. But even when he's upside down, he's still got the lamp of wisdom there. And then that little lamp, when people come together in the light, will lead to the sun, which is a happy outcome.
And one thing I really love about the Sun card is that's Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, and Archangel Sandalphon all in one card. And I think that's the only card in the whole deck that all those energies are combined. So, and beautiful. here's this gray wall behind them, but that, it's like, but out of that wall sprouts the flowers. So, we're going to get through this. I think I would say my take on it is the next month is probably going to be the most challenging. And then I think things are going to let up.
Yeah, I hope so. That sounds good.
It's my prayer anyway.
So in your deck, does the sun, the little boy's flag, I'm seeing it as orange. Is it orange or is it red?
I've heard it described as red,
Okay.
and that can mean a lot of different things,
Yeah.
to different people. And he's also got a red feather that comes up here out of his little crown of flowers that he's wearing. So, that's bringing in new blood also,
Yeah.
you know.
And passion and groundedness.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank
And
you.
the horse, he's got the horse to ride on, we're gonna get there. We've got help.
Okay. We've got that one. Next up, okay, I'm getting really dark because it's Scorpio season. November 18th, 1978, cult leader Jim Jones instructed 400 members of his church, the People's Temple, to literally drink the Kool-Aid, which meant committing suicide. It was a horrible tragedy. And you know, I'm old enough. I won't out you, but I do
I
remember.
remember it.
I remember that and how ghastly and just amazing. It was completely out of our understanding at the time. So the question from that is, will people ever become less vulnerable to cult leaders, whether they're religious, political, corporate leaders, or from some other walk of life? So Spirit, tell us, are people ever going to become less vulnerable to manipulation by cult leaders?
Or any kind of brainwashing, right?
Yeah, there will always be people who want to influence others uh, through means that are dishonest for their own self-aggrandizement and power. But they're showing me again, it's the drop of water in the pond with the ripples that go out. People need, and now I'm seeing this, the balancing, the scales of justice, that people like that need to be brought to justice and need to balance the scales and help people understand what this is, so that to educate people about the new, like the new ways of mind control through social media and television and everything like that, to keep things in balance. There will always be people who are vulnerable, but it has swung. Okay, now they're showing me locks. There needs to be new legislation, new laws to prevent some of that from happening. To put a lock on those efforts and stop them, and to educate people about the processes by which that they or their family members were turned into, were manipulated by these leaders. Okay, thank you, Spirit. Sorry, that was kind of disjointed.
No, it's fine. Very good. Thanks, Joan.
Yeah, what do you have?
Well,
Oh,
interesting. Here we've got the Eight of Swords, and what is that? That's kind of, choosing not to see. She could take off that blindfold. She can walk away. She's not totally surrounded by those swords. She can escape. And, showing her being blindfolded. And that's what happens when the people are subjected to this, victims of this kind of mental manipulation. So I would rather see that than, she's locked up, so to
right.
speak. She can walk away. We can, in other words, the people who have been so affected by this mentally, there is going to be hope for them to be able to be released from that bondage. Ace of Cups made my heart sing when I saw that. New relationships, new emotional starts, showing that if they will just, if we can help them, this is going to be our challenge. Help them to be able to take off that blindfold and not be judgmental about them, and help to show them, that there is a new way, new emotional starts, because they're going to need a lot of support.
Yeah.
The whole world is going to be different, you know. And here, a lot of people get worried about this card and the Seven of Swords, and here he is the thief, and he's he's stealing all these swords and running away. But if you look at how he's carrying those swords, what would happen to you if you carried those swords that way? Your hands would be all cut up. You're not going to be able to get very far if you're bleeding from your hands, and I think that this is like they're being found out is how I see this.
Mhm.
Their theft of people's good sense, common sense, sense of fairness, being realistic and loving your neighbor has been taken away from them and replaced by fear. But they're being exposed, those who are doing this to others. And look at what we have at the outcome. We have the Two of Cups, people in agreement. And this in the center here, this is the caduceus, the healing symbol with the two snakes, like it's on, medical, doctors' symbols and everything shows that. And I see this as a lot of healing. And if you look up here, this is a lion with wings. Lion is the strength card. And like the wings are, like shining over these two individuals and giving them protection. And look at how it's kind of bringing their energies in together, kind of encouraging people to work together again. And these people, look, they're different people. They're dressed differently. But they're coming together and joining together. And I think that's what we want to see is, down the road. And it's going to take work on all our parts, because we've got our feelings about what's been going on too. And
Yeah.
I know how I feel about just my very close neighbors. And we're not the same kind of people, but it's like we have to find a way to get along because they're our neighbors.
Yeah.
So I see people breaking out of that. It's going to take some time.
Mhm.
But these two cards give me a lot of optimism.
Me too. I really like that. Years ago, I used to work in digital marketing and would go to these conferences where they'd have people from Google and, some of the big social media places come in and lecture. And I wasn't on that side of the business so much, but it just scared me so much. And this was like 8 years ago, which is like centuries in digital time. That what they can find out about you and some of the early reports about, some of the media companies that were helping with Trump's election, people just don't understand at all what the power that's there, and they can gather and manipulate data in a way that there is one, they call it psychographic testing or something like that, where they say with like about 60 likes on Facebook or a social media thing, they'll know you better than your husband or wife or an intimate partner. And people won't believe that. It's like, no, I just, do this and like my grandchildren's things. It's very dangerous, which is why I don't have a Facebook account.
I don't either. I'm the same. Same thing.
But here we are on YouTube. So
yeah,
you got to have some fun.
Well, this community of YouTube has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. So
yeah, me too.
And I'm not a social media person, so I'm kind of shocked that I'm out here doing this, but I'm glad I am. The other thing I like about this card, this looks more like a woman and that looks like a man. So that's showing, the sides coming together and, that's my hope anyway.
Yeah. And I told that story only because that gave me compassion for people who succumb to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, what do we have? November 19th. For the second time today, I get to say my birthday. That was the day in 1863 that Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address. So what does Mr. Lincoln have to say about our current political situation? It wasn't Mr. Lincoln, it was Mr. Dickens who came in right away, who said it was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Lincoln. We've been through these times before. These times of struggle and strife when the center will not hold, when I'm seeing like the stitching between two pieces of a garment being torn apart. And will it be strong enough? Will it hold our union together? And he's saying there were many sleepless nights when he just didn't know. But this is higher up than I usually go. Getting chills that he and other past presidents and leaders, oh gosh, and statesmen and women and members of the military. I'm getting waves and waves of chills. They're working. They're working for the light. And he's saying it's, as we've said before, every generation needs to test the democracy to make it. It's like having a fire drill, just to make sure that the alarm works and everything, that we go through these things cyclically so that you don't take it for granted, that a new generation makes it real for them, how important it is to vote, how important it is to hold people accountable. This is not something that was written in stone. Our Constitution is written on paper, and it needs to be renewed with our hearts. Every generation has to take it. It has to be made visceral again. So it's up to us whether that's going to happen. We're behind you, he's saying. Don't give up. Trust in spirit, but get out there and vote and do whatever you can, including clinging to the positive. It's the best balm on this sore situation, other than taking direct action in grouping with other like-minded people to move these things forward. Thank you. That was pretty, I don't know if it came through in the words, but boy, when he was calling all that there's all these people behind us, that made me feel a lot better. That made me feel like, woo, really lots of chills.
Yeah, I
But
got chills. I got tears in my eyes. That was
yeah,
really,
they're on our, they're pulling for us.
I did, I do my genealogy, and I'm from a small town in Western New York, and I found out recently that the train that he was on, and then some of the other famous people, like other presidents, had gone through this little tiny town. And I imagine my ancestors being able to go see, Abraham Lincoln or other presidents go through this tiny town on the train. And it was a really big deal, So
Yeah.
it made me think about that, got me really verklempt. So thank you for that message.
Oh, I have to have trade one more ancestor story. I have the journal from my like third great grandfather or something, or whomever it was who was alive during Lincoln's time. And he wrote down and had a little picture of Lincoln in his journal.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
months after he died that, well, no, it was weeks after he died that they heard about it, because this is out in Minnesota and in a small town. And it's just unimaginable in our day and age of being able to have instantaneous access to news from all around the world, that it took that long for them to get the news. It was probably in bigger papers, but he was out in a small town somewhere. So anyhow,
That's amazing. And now
yeah,
we know stuff that, like, almost the moment it happens, we know about it. And no
yeah,
wonder we're stressed and feel overwhelmed. It's a lot. We don't just know about our own community, we know about the whole world, what's going on,
yeah,
and even telescopes out in space. We only know what's going on galactically. It's like, wow, give ourselves a little breather, right? Real little space. Interesting cards here. Here's the Knight of Wands reversed. And, if he was upright, he's, charming and restless and being a hothead and foolhardy, drastic change. But when he's reversed, it's more like being bored and drudgery. I don't know that we're really bored, but I think we feel the drudgery of what we've been going through in the last several years. Just I know I get up in the morning and it's like you wake up, you open your eyes, it's like, oh yeah, this is the reality. We're still in this. There is no let up of that right now. But here comes the emperor, and he's setting a good foundation. Um, he's protective and like, the authoritative and a loving father. Um, he's not being judgmental, so to speak, as like the Hierophant might be, with the dogma of religion and everything. He's wanting to help us set a new foundation because I think we all know, the planets and the alignment and everything is the same as it was during the Civil War. And and also the Revolutionary War, we're starting all over. We're creating a new nation and we need this good foundation.
Yeah.
And here with the Seven of Wands, that's about being, you can be feeling fatigued and needing help and being overwhelmed and you want to give up. And I think we've all had those moments where we just feel like, do we have to, how much more of this? When do we see the light at the end of the tunnel? But then look at all the light in this card. And even the pentacle is the same shade of yellow as the sun, and I think this is it's a slow moving night and we don't, we can't have things go too quickly because we're going to make mistakes if we go too quickly. We want to set the good foundation. And he's the knight is really focused on that star in the pentacles there. So not just the money part, but the star represents the United States. Look at all the stars on our flag. And this knight, he's reliable, cautious, slow moving, but he gets the job done. So,
Who
this
does
is
that
kind of,
sound like?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, there's no tower card in here, no devil card or anything like that. I think we need to be realistic, but let's really focus on um, setting a good foundation. And it isn't going to just be we all get it our way either. We're going to have to make compromises with those who think differently than us. But how
Yeah,
can we take these wands and build a solid foundation with them?
perfect. I love it. Okay. I'm going to skip ahead because I'm getting a message on my computer that my internet is not real stable.
Okay.
So, and plus we've been going for quite a while. So my last question is November 30th, 1993, the Brady Bill was passed. Remember that? I forget his first name, Mr. Brady, who
Jim
was
Brady, wasn't it?
Jim Brady, right, who was injured when the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan's life. And they passed a gun control bill in his name. So, what is the future of gun control legislation in the US? Okay, Spirit, what can you tell me about gun control legislation nationally? I'm seeing daisies. Remember that commercial, oh, back in the 60s when like some flower child was going and putting daisies into the barrels of guns, of rifles, and I forget what it was about, but
Was
it's
it Tiananmen Square, maybe?
nope. This was back in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
And so it was just like then, love overcomes the fear, going back to another reference point. So, Spirit, what are you saying about this? Okay. It's like the flower child is the love symbol, the parents who have lost children, the husbands and wives who have lost a husband or a wife. There are so many people who have lost people from gun violence, the school shootings, the shopping center shootings. And now I'm hearing common sense that the common sense gun laws will be the first things that aren't a massive step forward, but it's a step forward because these are things that pretty much people agree on or did until and until these differences were sort of people manipulated them to make them sort of, what's the word? Anyhow, they just became very divisive. So they'll be starting with common sense gun laws, things that reasonable people can agree on. Okay, I'm going to try one more time with the pendulum. Yes. In the new legislative session, it's going to move forward. Oh, so what do you have?
Oh, interesting. So we have the Ace of Wands in reverse, which has to do with our sacral chakra being blocked and being stagnant and stuck. And I think that's how we've been feeling. Like we're just banging our head against the wall with this and wondering, some people look at this as like the Bam Bam card, he's there with his club and, just being beaten down by all this. We moved to the Hermit card being in reverse. And now that he's liking being with others, that sense of not seeing someone else as the quote unquote other, not being so isolated. I think people are just fear has been pushed on them so much. And I really liked the memory you had of I remember the commercial or the scene with putting the daisy in the end of the rifle. That just what a powerful image that is. That just a simple act like that can bring about new ways of looking at it and being more positive. Seeing the King of Pentacles in reversed, it's about being ungrounded and issues with money. That's kind of like the gun issue has really turned everything upside down, like took the snow globe and shook it all up. And now we're dealing with all the fallout from all it's just unimaginable to me, the way things are. I'm sure you feel the same way. But here we end up with a good card at the end again, the Ten of Pentacles in the upright, which is family, money, stability, reliability, permanence. So, we're going through this time, but the outcome is there, that it's going to be positive. And the timing for this card is in years rather than days, weeks, or months. So, it might not happen right away, and it might not happen until the next general election, not just the midterm. But it's going to take time for all that healing to come about, but I do think it's coming.
That's beautiful. I think that's a wonderful card to end on. I like the Ace of Wands upside down, because is one of its meanings a new beginning when it's right side up?
New starts.
So when you turn it over, it's not something new, it's going back. It's going back like when we used to have assault weapons banned. We could be going back where we used to think that school was a protective, safe place for our kids. It might be going back to, I don't want to live in a place where when anyone just is having road rage that they can take out a gun and shoot me. Maybe it's, in some ways, it is good to go back to ways that in some senses were more sensible.
And all you had was a club to beat each other with, and not an assault rifle,
Exactly.
That's the greatest thing, but
Yeah. That sounds good. Well, I think that's a happy note to end on. And thank you so much for being here.
Do we want to do a card for a positive? Do we have time to do a
positive go for it
for everybody?
Yes.
Let's see what we get here. Just to kind of leave everybody in a good, something to focus on. And remember, people, hold those insides of your wands, cross your hands and hold your wands and keep doing it as much. There's a group in California they call the One Club. They started doing it an hour a day. And they had so many dramatic changes that they did it for a year, that they've kept doing it year after year. And you can break it down and do it 20 minutes, 3 times a day, and if you can't do an hour, don't worry about it. Do what you can.
Cross your hands and hold your, what do you call them?
The inside of your knees, the ones. That's where safety energy lock 1 is.
Got it.
Yeah, it's safe. That's the first one, prime mover. But it's really simple to do, and you can do it, if you're laying on your side and you can lay it, in bed, you can do it. And it also goes along with our 1111 portal. So,
right. And if you haven't watched Juno being a guest on Allie Martin's channel, Heart and Soul Connected, where she talks about Jinsen Jitsu, which I hope I JSJ.
There you go.
It's really highly recommended. You did such a great job really explaining
Oh.
it, making it simple for anyone to understand.
Oh, thanks. Well, this is interesting. I looked at the bottom of the deck also. We've got the wasp and the bee spirit. And the wasp, the wasp spirit card says, sometimes life stings. And the bee spirit says, sweet results await. So, we might have to go through the hornet's nest for the next couple weeks, but by Thanksgiving, we're going to have some sweet results and be eating our favorite desserts, and gluten-free, of course.
Gluten-free, land of milk and honey. And if you didn't understand when I was going, that was Flight of the Bumblebee, of course.
Yeah. And look at, all the wings on this card, and there's even feathers hanging off from the little wasp's feet here. So
yeah. And nothing happens, nothing grows without bees, the pollinators. So
that's right.
Sign of
it's going
prosperity and abundance to come.
So
thank you so much. This was fun. I missed you last month.
Oh, me too. But I got the best surprise when you came to see me in person. I have to say, I'm being selfish. That was even better than doing a video.
That was fun. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks everybody.
We'll be back next month.
Get my little heart in there. There you go. Love you guys, and happy Thanksgiving coming up. This is our November video. So
bye now.
I'll be good. Bye.